What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Courtside Soundoff podcast once again. I'm Josh Evanoff. As always, welcome by the one and only man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, future Jiu-Jitsu world champion, Angel Ortega. A lot of stuff to talk about, boys. We got UFC 284 to go over, UFC Vegas 69 going on this weekend, as well as a bunch of news. As always, we're brought to you by two amazing sponsors. Rogue Energy and Elixir.com. Code Soundoff for both of them. You get 10% off. Rogue Energy has always been a long time sponsor of the show, sponsor of the program. Keep your fuel up to go through the day, man. I've been actually doing a lot more work than recently, and I've been able to do that thanks to being fueled up by Rogue Energy. On the opposite end of things, I understand that pretty much the entire country has fucking marijuana at this point. However, if you're into Delta 8, you can go ahead and go to Elixir. Got Delta 8, Delta 9, HHC. They got it all, boys. They got gummies, vapes, gels, joints. They got it all. And you can get it with code SOUNDOFF for 10% off. Well, last Saturday night, UFC 284 going down at the RAC Arena in Perth, Australia. We knew going into this card that it was one of the biggest fights in UFC history. Pound for pound number one versus pound for pound number two. We can kind of debate if Makhachev kind of got rushed a bit up there, but nonetheless, that's what it was going in. This would be a fight for pound status of number one. In a weird twist, Angel, Volkanovski loses unanimous decision 48, 47, 49, 46, but yet still he is pound for pound number one. Dude, first of all, so many thoughts coming out of this fight, very back and forth. What are your thoughts, man? Since it's been days since the fight, what do you think about it, and who did you think won on fight night?
Look, we talked a little bit in the green room about everything, and they kind of talk about the pound for pound thing to begin with, because outside of just the title, allegedly between these two guys, right, and obviously everybody and kind of how everybody saw it was pound for pound ranking on the line for this. It's there is times like this, Josh, where a person loses and somehow their stock is capable of going up.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those kind of rare times where Volkanovski lost the decision on paper, but his stock went up, which is really fascinating. We don't see that very often. And I think that was always a possibility depending how he did. Granted, though, I think he exceeded some of our expectations. I'm going to say it, Josh. I thought he would do good, but I didn't have like 100% hope, a lot of faith. I just didn't see how it could happen. Obviously, I had ideas. There were some thoughts in my head of probable outcomes, but none of them amounted to what happened on that night. At the time, Josh, I'd like to say that I felt like it was a close fight. With how the fight ended, with the crowd, it felt like in the moment like maybe Volk should have won because the decision ended up being for Makhachev. And at the time, what seemed like a criminal, what was it, 49-46?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem, it's still pretty wild, but doesn't seem too crazy with how close the rounds were. Obviously, it left a sour taste in our mouth. Because it definitely, I think no matter what, in the end, it should have been the 48-47 either way. And I texted you live during the fight. I'm like, Josh, no matter at this point, no matter the result of the fight, it will be controversial, I think, no matter what. There will be some sort of controversy in some capacity. And on
Little
top,
did you know, right? Like, not even just during the fight, but post-fight. Damn.
and post-fight, yeah. I mean, that's a whole other story of itself. If I'm thinking about what you're thinking, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute, but because there's so much controversy coming out of this fight. I mean, the 49-46 card I thought was incorrect pretty clearly. I mean, and I will admit on fight night, I did believe that Volkanovski won. I thought it was 2-2 going into the fifth, and I thought he sealed it with the knockdown and nearly finishing him. But even then, like on fight night, I was still like, well, I could see it going that way. You know what I mean? I thought like the first two rounds, I thought, first one was pretty clear to Makhachev. Second one was close. I thought third one, Volkanovski won. Fourth round, Makhachev won. Fifth round, Volkanovski won. Instead, it comes down to that second round, and I remember in the moment I gave it to Volkanovski. Now in hindsight, I'm like, you know what? it's about as razor close of a fight you're gonna get. I understand that's not the thing a lot of people want to hear. Everybody wants to be like, oh, it's a robbery, yada yada yada. And even on Fight Night, I texted you and I was like, fuck, they did it, they robbed him. And I was like, no,
yeah, it was a close fight.
It was a legitimately. This is one of those times where it's like, I've always argued, like, people are like, oh, it's not that bad of a robbery. It was close, but there are fights that are close and clear, and then there are fights that are just close. This fight was just close. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it was like I told you. I think there was a lot of factors in how the fight ended, right? The ending sequence and the crowd and everything, and what was on the line, and Volk's performance. Look, Josh, I did feel coming out of it overall, right? And obviously, fights aren't scored like that. It felt like Volk won the fight in the moment. You know what I mean? I think a lot of people felt like that. Like if you're not paying attention to the score and you're just watching the fight, I think, Josh, you kind of come out thinking of it with the crowd, with everything, how the fight ends. I can see how everybody could feel that way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It really is a factor. Well, all of that played into it in some capacity, but it was a close fight. Like, no matter what, like I'm saying, with everything going on, I think that's why it felt like that. I think that's why a lot of people felt like that. I'm not gonna say everybody, but a lot of people felt like Volk won in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, in the moment, and even in hindsight, like I said, I can understand it, but I still thought that rewatching the fight, I rewatched it once the day after. I still thought that Volkanovski won. But it was one of those fights where it's like, well, shit, extremely close. Now let's kind of go ahead and get into like the post fight stuff.
Oh man,
because god damn, I mean, like they were coming out of that fight, I was like, well, I can see them rematching. Maybe they'll fight one guy in between, and maybe at the end of the no, these dudes are fighting next, totally 100%. Just because like all this post fight controversy that's happening now, and specifically Dan Hooker came out and accused Islam of using an IV. Volkanovski, in an interview actually conducted before that, he actually hinted that Makhachev, he didn't say it directly, but he kind of tipped around and like, yeah, he probably did. Like he kind of hinted that he did use the IV. Dan Hooker came out and said he did use the IV, which is illegal and can result in a 6-month USADA suspension, depending on. I mean, I'm sure there's other factors that go into it, but just the suspension we've seen for guys in the past, like Paulo Costa, who've been caught doing it, 6 months, generally speaking. He won't get stripped of the title or anything, but it is a big deal. It is a very big deal that he was caught using an IV, because I know that those are used for rehydrating after a bad weight cut or so on and so forth. Some guys will use an IV, and I believe it's like hide, like whatever may be in their system. I don't know everything on that front, but I've heard some people say that.
You can flush some shit out, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you. It can flush some shit out. So yeah, it is illegal. And then afterwards, I saw Ali Abdelaziz was accusing people of racism or something for saying this stuff about Makhachev or whatever the fuck. And then people were pissed that Volk is number 1 still in the pound for pound rankings, and some people were like, oh, what was the fight for and all that. And coming out of the fight, I got to be honest, man. I really do think Volkanovski still deserves that number 1 ranking. I don't know. I think we saw by pure definition of pound for pound that he's the best pound for pound fighter on the planet, because he's not a 155-pound fighter. And he took this unstoppable champion who, outside of one knockout loss like 8 years ago, like seconds in. Outside of that, he lost like 1 round, and that was Arman Sarukian. Outside of that, he's been flawless. And for Volkanovski to nearly beat him, fuck yeah, pound for pound number 1. What do you think about that argument?
No, yeah, it makes sense. Like I told you, I said at the start of the show, Josh. It's crazy that his stock rose after that fight, even with the loss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, did you say it there? I mean, they need to run it back, right? They got to, right? At some point, they got to.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that?
They got to. I mean, I think, like I said, after the fight ended, immediately afterwards, like, well, they both have business. Volkanovski has to fight Yair, and Beneil Dariush has been waiting forever for a title shot. But then Benny got booked against Charlie Olives on Monday. And then Volkanovski said, hey, Yair, you can defend that title if you want. And then now there's all this controversy, and they keep on going back and forth. Like, all right, I've seen enough fighting. These guys are gonna fight next,
There's the stories there, man. The seed has been set. Just water the plant.
Exactly. Just water the seed. In the words of Joe Coco Diaz, the fucking seed, right? That's the fucking seed right there. Definitely interesting, man. I think that they're totally gonna fight next. I think like if you're if you're Volkanovski and Makhachev, they're both very well aware that that's the biggest fight for both of them to make, and also I'm sure that they both want to get that one back for Makhachev. You know, he took a lot of damage, and I saw Volkanovski said, that he said that Makhachev said afterwards to his corner, like, all right, I guess we'll have a rematch then. Like I gotta get that one back because he thought he lost.
Mhm.
But interesting stuff, man. Any closing thoughts on the main event before we go and move on to the co-main, which was also a banger?
I mean, there's so much we have to see that's going to come up in the next few months, right? Regarding what's going to happen with the 155 title, who's going to be defending it. Obviously, Conor McGregor return against Chandler, and obviously 45 is an interesting place now that we got some high-profile matchups announced there, and some guys who are in the 45 division that haven't gotten fights announced that should be sometime soon. There's a lot.
Yeah. Definitely going to be fun stuff in the lightweight division moving forward. And we also got, because of the rest of the divisions finally starting to move. I feel like lightweight, whenever it's actually active, it's the best division in the UFC. But at the top of the division, there's a couple of divas in there, man. Like, they take a while to go ahead and fight. And we got McGregor Chandler coming up. We got, Olives and Benny. So that should be fun. But I think the fight to make next, regardless of all that, it's Volkanovski Makhachev, too, let's be honest. Moving on to the co-main event, though, dude. Damn, Yair Rodriguez is the motherfucking truth. I think at this point, if you're denying it, I don't even know what to say to you, man. This is a guy that is improving leaps and bounds. I think most people got to remember he just turned 30 like a couple of months ago. Like, he came to the UFC so young. He was 24, I believe, when he came in. I don't even know if that's correct. It was his early 20s, but regardless, I mean, he was a guy that came with a lot of hype, and he had some losses here and there, but dude, like his current streak, even, since 2018, he's only lost once, and that was to Max Holloway in an absolute banger of a fight. And he goes out there against Josh Emmett, a guy with 5 fight winning streak, excuse me, and he submits him in the second round, uses the body kicks beautifully, hurt him multiple times. And even then, El Pantera, he had to survive. He got knocked down in round one. He admitted post-fight, I don't even remember the fight past that. But guess what? He went into autopilot mode, and once he went into autopilot mode, he beat the fuck out of Josh Emmett. Wins by second round sub. Angel. 2 Mexican UFC champions. There's 2 more on the docket. We got Irene Aldana, who will probably be fighting for a title. She could beat Raquel Pennington. And then also Alexa Grasso, Shevchenko next month. Dude, give me your thoughts on the co-main. What a performance by Yair.
That's crazy. Could you imagine if those 2 gals won?
I know, crazy.
Be a crazy year. They have tough fights themselves, though, so we'll have to see. Fuck, man. I even said it, dude. Don't underground, on the ground. If it gets there, don't be surprised. I did not expect it, though. I did not think it would end like that. Was it a triangle, right?
Triangle. It was a triangle choke.
Triangle choke, man. Yeah, no, fuck, dude. Beautiful kicks. Obviously, I mean, we said it in the pre-show. Kicks are going to be a big thing. Uses range pretty well. Josh Emmett had some trouble going in there, man, and didn't get to land those bombs. Did get his takedown. It was just textbook. I think, yeah. I mean, Yair fought the fight we expected. I think Josh Emmett was the one that we were wondering, is he going to be able to do the things that he wants to do? And I don't think he fully got allowed to do any of that, and it showed. Fight speaks for itself, and everybody had chosen Yair. I think Yair was the favorite going into the fight, I believe, not by a crazy amount, but it made sense. And I think everybody picked right. I thought everybody thought that Josh Emmett had a chance because of his power. And yeah, it was definitely a factor. And obviously, like you said, Yair couldn't remember a bit. So, fuck, man, Josh Emmett got some fucking hammers in his hand, dude.
Yeah. I mean, going into it, man, same page. I thought that Yair was the favorite, but Josh Emmett has that one. He's got that one hitter quitter power, and and you can't ever forget that. And dude, I mean, in that first round, I was like, man, Yair just pieced him up. This is way easier than I thought. And then he landed that bomb, and everything changed. And I think that shows you Yair Rodriguez is fucking metal, dude. I mean, he fucking got knocked down. and admitted that, like, yeah, I don't even remember anything about Pat. I just remember fucking cinching in the triangle, and that's when I came to. And that's what he said. He's like, oh, damn, you threw a flying. Somebody told him after the fight, like, you threw a flying knee right after getting rocked. He's like, damn, did I? Like, it's just.
Yeah, gotta watch that one back, man. Holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, here, man, what a dog. And I think him versus Volkanovski is more interesting than people suggest. I'll put it like that. I don't think I'd pick Yair, but that dude is improving leaps and bounds every single time he improves. He has such a massive reach advantage. He's actually starting to put together, like, he's never had bad knockout ability, but he's always been kind of a guy, like, he'll throw more flashy shit with the intention of kind of, like, maybe throwing you off more than it. Dude, no, he's trying to kill you out there. You know what I mean? Like, he's finally figured it all out. So, yeah, look, I'm very, very excited to see what he does next. I think with Makhachev being likely fighting Volkanovski next, really, I mean, it's kind of, I mean, we'll see who he fights. I think the Arnold Allen Max Holloway fight, which we'll talk about later in the news section, winner of that possibly, but there's so much uncertainty in featherweight right now. But regardless, in terms of the fight itself, got to give props to Yair. What a performance and what a win, and new interim champion. But look, dude, a lot of people showed out on this main card. Moving one on down, Jack Della Maddalena. We knew going into this one, facing Randy Brown, biggest test of his career, did not.
Fuck, man. I didn't expect it to be like that, dude. What the fuck?
Easily dominates, gets a submission win inside of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Jesus, what do you think about that one, man? This kid is just, he's unbelievable.
He's the truth, man. We've been saying it. It seems like it. And now it gets a guy like Randy Brown who's been in it, man. He's been around a while. He's a name. He's an established name in his division. Maybe not, I don't think he's ever reached like super high rank, but he's been ranked multiple times and very high and deep, but not, I don't think he's ever been like top 5 or anything like that, right, Josh, off the top of my head?
Mm-hmm.
But fuck, man, I mean, Jack Della Maddalena, he deserves competition. I think his next fight should be against a ranked opponent. I told Josh in the green room, I think 100% the fight to make is Vicente Luque versus Jack Della Maddalena.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Vicente, he's not even booked right now, is he?
Nope, that's another thing. He's available.
Yeah, that's what I thought. He's been out of action since he got fucked up by Jeff Neal. As a Vicente Luque fan, I'm not sure if that's the fight I want to see because he took a lot of damage and has been taking a lot of damage lately. But at the same time, I will also go ahead and say, like, if you're if you're a Jack Della Maddalena fan, that's the exact fight you're going to be wanting. But I think that's probably the most logical booking right now. I think Neil Magny is a name that you said it in the green room. Some people are throwing out there, but why would you do that fight? Like that fight makes no sense to me personally.
Yeah, I feel like you got to push Jack at this point. Like it's very clear he's knocked everybody out in the first round, or at least hurt him and then submitted them in the first round.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And we just saw Neil Magny like just a month ago. We saw him get washed by Gilbert Burns. I don't know why. If you want to see Jack Della Maddalena get tested, that's the guy you'd pick. So I don't get that whatsoever. But anyways, I mean, I think like in terms of there being fun fights for him, there is actually limitless possibilities. I think this kid is like a guy that I don't think too many people expected. I know that before his debut, I think he's only been in the UFC like for around like a year, right? I think he made his debut like on the Ngannou Gone card, I think.
He's not even been around a year, has he? Really? Or has it been a year now?
I think it's a bit over a year. But regardless, I know he fought Pete Rodriguez in his debut, who was short notice, and he tuned him off, and I don't think anybody expected this kid to be as good as he is. And 4 fights in the UFC, for him to not even be tested is pretty crazy. So,
Josh, you know how old this man is too, which is the part that really fucks me up?
He's like only like 25 something, right?
26.
26. Yeah, there you go.
He just turned 26 last year, at the end of last year, near the end of last year.
Crazy. I mean, he's a guy that I don't think anybody saw coming.
Dude, that's so fucking scary. He has years. He's going to be here more than 10 years, possibly.
Yeah, there's a chance. Yeah, he's the truth. So I'm very excited to see where he goes. But yeah, man. Speaking of truth, Justin Toffa murdered Parker Porter inside of a minute. Not even close.
He did, man. I didn't think he'd be that quick, man. Credit to fucking Toffa, man. Yeah, I gotta say it.
Yeah, I mean, I said whenever we were previewing the fight, I'm like, I think sometimes heavyweight fights just come down to who's the better athlete. I thought he was the better athlete, and he made it look easy. I mean, he's a guy that, like, if he can get on the right track, he's still got some potential. He's still in his 20s, relatively only 9 fights, which is crazy to think about, only 9 MMA fights. So he's still improving. He's still, getting more experience under his belt. So I wasn't surprised to see him just decimate him. But, yeah, impressive win nonetheless. That being said, more interest to talk about the main card opener. Jimmy Crute and Alonzo Menifield. Jesus, these dudes went out there and beat the shit out of each other. Although it does end in a draw, specifically because Alonzo Menifield was deducted a point in the third, I believe, due to grabbing a fence. Did you agree with the point being taken? Also, what do you think about the draw itself? Did you agree?
I must have missed that, dude. And see, I was going back and forth between the fights. I guess I might have just not been there when that happened. But it's not a fight itself. It was a fucking banger. I thought Alonzo won without even seeing the fucking fence grab. So I don't know. Was it a criminal fence grab, Josh?
I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was actually kind of surprising at how quickly they took a point. But I don't know. I mean, it was. I'll be honest. It was. I saw also a fight. I was kind of like just scrolling back and forth on. I gotta admit it. But yeah. I mean, I remember thinking that Alonzo Menifield won. I didn't rewatch that one, but
I think everybody was on that same page.
According to MMA decisions, it's the exact opposite. Apparently, most people just thought it was a draw. Menifield round 1, Menifield round 2, and then Crute round 3. But it was a 10-8 in round 3 because of the point deduction. So it is what it is. In terms of the prelims, man, what'd you think? I thought this was a pretty solid card, man.
Man, the one that threw me off, Josh, was fucking Tyson Pedro losing to Modestas Bukauskas. I did not expect that Tyson Pedro gassed himself out, right? Or came in gassed, or was maybe not as good shape as he could have been. I don't know. I was definitely at a loss of words for this because he had looked so hot since he returned. Granted, though, you look at level competition.
Very low level competition.
Very low competition. But
basically he was the worst size they could have possibly given him.
But he was.
But he did beat him, and yeah, I mean,
he beat him so quick though. It seemed like I expected more out of him in this fight, and it was. I don't know. I was a little disappointed, but it's only one since the return to hey man. That's just how it goes.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting that afterwards, I saw it come out yesterday that apparently he was sick, very very sick during the fight, and was having stomach and like I can't think of what the exact issue that he had. But yeah, he was having a lot of stomach stuff. He was puking and he was very very sick. So apparently that's why. And if you look at, I've never seen Tyson Pedro that out of shape, so
yeah,
kind of makes sense. It sucks and it's a step back, but look, dude, I mean, this was almost always going to happen. There's a guy that's been fuck, dude, he took off like 4-5 years due to injuries, so he was always going to have some sort of setback along the way, but I think he'll be fine. But now knowing that like he was sick, it makes a lot more sense in that context.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. It threw me off so much. Like it just didn't seem. It just didn't seem like him that night. I guess it's kind of the easiest way to put it.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. I mean, he's still an interesting guy, and I think that still has potential because you mentioned that like he beat some. Let's be honest, he beat the worst possible guys he could beat and that they could have given him. But also, he annihilated those guys so easily to where you're like, oh well, shit, he's legit. When you beat the bad fighters that way, but. Yeah, it sucks for him to lose, but I think he'll be back, and I think he'll be back probably relatively soon, honestly. But I think probably wants to get that. He's been active since returning, but I mean, what are the fights on the card, man? I mean, I thought Loma Lookingby, my girl, showing the fucking jiu-jitsu skills, man. First sub win of her career, beating Elise Reed. Very happy for Loma Lookingby. 2 wins in a row, 4 of her last 5. She's coming on. But you mentioned a fight to your surprise with Tyson Pedro. I was way more surprised at. Zuba losing. Zubra Tukov losing split decision. Granted, terrible decision. But the fact that the fight was even close was surprising me. What do you think about that one? Did you catch that fight on the opening fight of the card?
No, I didn't. But I did hear about the controversy at the time, at least on Twitter, controversial decision.
Yeah. So it was a terrible call. I'll go and put it like that. Now, granted, obviously, Zuba missed weight. It's kind of hard to feel bad for him. Fighting a short notice guy, again, hard to feel bad for him. But I thought Zuba, like, I literally gave him every single round. Like, I don't even think it was that close. It was one of the worst decisions I've seen in a long, long time. Now, luckily, that didn't end up going on throughout the night, because really that was the only bad call, and then the main event was close, and that wasn't a robbery, but some people said it was. But yeah, definitely weird one. Any closing thoughts on this card? Anything you want to talk about before we go and move on to UC Vegas 69?
I mean, nothing else. I want to give a good quick shout out to Joshua Kulibau, dude. He had a sick fight himself. I don't know if he ended up catching that one, but he actually ended up. He was looking good. He was getting his kicks going. He was doing a lot of good work in the striking, and then he gets kicked in the fucking nuts, and action stops. And then going into I can't remember if it was in the second round or at the end of the first round. They come back to get into some exchanges. This man gets his back in the craziest fucking exchange ever. Like I said, if you have time today, Josh, go back and watch that one and submit some very sick finish, very fun fight. If anybody wants to go back and watch one on the prelims, I recommend that one.
Yeah, I did see that one. That was an absolute banger, and super happy for him. Josh is state winning apparently.
Oof.
Yeah. And well, outside of the co-main, we don't.
Oh yeah, he's not a, he's not part of the Josh.
Oh, I mean, we don't, shit. From anyways, yeah, man, fun card, very very fun card. This card we got coming up this weekend, definitely interesting. UFC Vegas 69 going down from UFC Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada. Short notice fight, dude. Jessica Andrade, supposed to be Talia Santos. Jessica Andrade, who we just saw beat Laura Murphy to a fucking pulp a month ago, going to be returning against cold-blooded Erin Blanchfield. In my opinion, the greatest prospect of the UFC. I've been literally there for this girl's entire journey ever since her second pro fight. She has just improved leaps and bounds from fight to fight to fight, and now she's in her first main event facing a former champ. This came out of nowhere, dude. She's only 4 fights into her journey, and this is just crazy that she would even accept this fight. What are your thoughts on this one, man? And give me your excitement level. This is better than the Talia Santos fight.
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. I don't know. I think they're probably just about the same for me. But Talia Santos, or not Jessica Andrade, Josh. Holy fuck, the ultimate test for any high level prospect in the women's division, right? I mean. I'll fight her that's bounced between, or not necessarily bounced, but fought between 2 weight classes. Is she bouncing back and forth though right now? Or is she kind of just staying committed now to the one class?
Well, she keeps on saying she's going to commit to one class and then stop, and then she doesn't do it. She said it like 3 or 4 times in the last year, so. But, whatever. But,
well, look, Jessica Andrade, the ultimate battle-tested female fighter, been in there against everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It is crazy because to me, like, that Valentina Shevchenko loss doesn't seem that long ago, but it's back in 2021, and since then she's recovered well. Cynthia Calvillo, Amanda Lemos, Lauren Murphy, all 3 in a row. Lauren Murphy, who challenged for a title not too long ago. I mean, she's right back in the title-speaking picture, which is so crazy, especially after having such a pretty bad loss to Valentina. I mean, it was pretty dominant, obviously, ending in that crucifix position, which is so brutal. She gets Erin Blanchfield, the new gal on the street, the young gun. She has all the hype, she's been being looked at, the main gal at this division with an extremely high skill ceiling. I don't know, Josh. I told you, I wish they kept it going. They would have kept building it up a little bit, but I guess they're sold on her. They want to see how far she can do it. This is the ultimate test right here, Jessica Andrade. I don't think it's gonna go her way though, Josh. I'm gonna pick Jessica Andrade. I think it's gonna be a tough night out for her. I feel like I think it's gonna be a very close and competitive fight. I think Erin Blanchfield would make a great showcase of herself and put herself in a position to be well going forward in this division, but she's not gonna get that shot at the title after this.
Yeah. So here's what's crazy about this, right? So I've been bigging up Erin Blanchfield for her entire career, right? I wrote, you guys can look at my shit, man. I wrote articles about her all the way back in 2018, 2019 for Cage Side Press, back when I worked for them. I have been very, very high on her for a very long time. She's improving from fight to fight to fight, but god damn it. This is the worst possible matchup to the point where I don't even know why she would accept it. It's just not even just that you're fighting Jessica Andrade, right? But let's look at this from a stylistic point of view, right? Erin Blanchfield, incredible grappler. And in terms of striking offense, depending on the opponent she has some nice high kicks. She's not terrible on the feet. She's composed, but she's very, very hittable. And if you're very, very hittable and you're facing Jessica Andrade, it's a fucking problem. Factor in the fact that Jessica Andrade is one of the strongest female fighters, not only across one, across two, across 3 weight divisions. She has wins all the way up to 135, dude. She's actually won as high as like a 137-pound weight, a 140 catch weight before she was in the UFC. Like, she's fought super fucking highly. And you're fighting that one? Like, I had no problem picking Blanchard when it was Talia Santos or any of these fighters. I think this is just like, it's too much too soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and take Jessica Andrade, and it sucks to say. I don't think I've ever picked against Erin Blanchfield. She has 1 loss in her career, and that was a complete robbery. If you guys ever watched that fight, I believe against Tracy Cortez. I think she's gonna suffer her first real defeat on Saturday, but I think she'll come back. She's still only 23, and that's the big thing. Like, if it sounds like I'm downing on her, like, the fact that she's 23 in a main event against Jessica Andrade just shows her fucking skill level. So, yeah. I mean, I just did not like this matchup. I think I sent you a message when I saw there was an announcement. I was like, fuck. Like,
that's how it is, man. That's how it fucking is, Josh.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I mean, but the girl's 23, Josh. I mean, she has an eternity. She's
gonna
she's going to be here a very long time. I mean, she's fighting. Dude, Jessica Andrade has 22 fights in the UFC. This is about to be number 23. Jordan year, dude. And you know what year it is? It's 2023. It's fucking written in the script, Josh.
You're right. I think Erin Blanchfield's going to win. Nice. I take it back.
Well, Josh is like, actually, Erin Blanchfield is 23. The year is 2023. This is Jessica Andrade's 23rd fight in the UFC. Maybe I got the script all wrong, Josh. You were right.
Oh, my God. Oh, no, fucking. Holy shit. No, I mean, I don't. Anyways, man. I mean, I like this fight a lot, actually. In terms of, like, if I weren't such a big Erin Blanchfield fan, I'd like this fight a lot more. But yeah, because I'm kind of dreading it. But yeah, she'll be back. I think when there's a draw, she still has so much potential, and I think that this is a bad matchup. But the reality is, she's got another decade plus in the sport, dude. I mean, she's so fucking good, and she's improving from fight to fight to fight. Like, I didn't expect her to go out there and fucking destroy Meatball Molly as easily as she did, but she did, So we'll see. But for the moment, I'm taking Jessica Andrade. This fight outside of the main event, and the main event, I don't want to see people bitching about it. Like, there's always like some women's main events where like they're actually kind of shitty. It's kind of shitty. But there's other ones where like, oh man, this is actually like a really good fight. People are like, oh, another women's main event. And this is one of those fights where it's like it's actually a really good main event. The card below that sucks.
Something though, there's some bangers here.
No, don't do that.
No, Josh.
Don't defend.
Josh, Zach Praga. The co-main event, Zach Praga, Jordan Wright, Josh. The ultimate 1-round fight with Jordan Wright at minimum, Josh.
No, I agree, and I actually like that fight.
But look, let's run through that one real quick. Look, there's not a lot.
We'll talk with the rest.
There's not a lot to say here. Jordan Wright, 3-fight losing win streak. He's a 1-round fighter, Josh. Let's just be honest. Now let's keep it as it is. All his fights ended in the first round. It's probably gonna end in the first round again. He's coming off 3 losses. I think they're all finishes too. Well, obviously they're all finishes. All knockouts at that. Or actually no, 1 submission in here. Regardless though, not looking good. Zach Praga, we saw him on The Ultimate Fighter, Josh. Very likable guy. Very measured. Pretty good condition. He's fighting at 205 now, not heavyweight. So I think that's gonna help him a fair bit. Coming out of that elevation team, though, we know all those guys. We know what comes out of that gym. I mean, there's guys in there like Neil Magny, Chris Curtis, Rafa Garcia, Corey Sandhagen. Also name them all. Miranda. I mean, it's a fucking stacked gym. So no shortness of practice in there. Yeah, no, I mean, this is a nice one to get back to. Obviously, after losing to Muhammad Usman at heavyweight, I think Zach Praga probably got this one locked in the bag pretty easily. It's kind of nice to see the former Ultimate Fighter alumni return, especially at a weight class where he's probably his natural weight class.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of as far as the fight goes itself, actually, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. That being said, I mean, kind of feel for Jordan right here. I mean, it kind of feels like he's getting set up here a little bit. I mean, the Beverly Hills Ninja, I remember when he came in, and I don't want to say I had high hopes for him, but he had a couple of fights there where it was like, he's actually looking pretty good, Specifically, he knocked out Ike Villanueva, he knocked out Jamie Pickett. He had a really fun fight with Joaquin Buckley, but 3 knockout losses in a row. I thought Zach Palga looked really, really good on The Ultimate Fighter for the most part. Even in the finale, whenever he lost to Muhammad Usman, he was tuning him up before he got caught. So I'm going to go and take him here. But regardless, you're right. It's going to be a 1-round fight, no matter what. I mean, if you're tuning in for like one fight on this card, this may be the one. You know what I mean? But regardless, man. Rest of the card, I mean, let's talk about it. I mean, you said there's some good fights on the card. I agree, but I think this is another one of those cards where it's like, all right, the UFC's just throwing shit at the wall because they don't care about it. But outside of those fights, where it's pretty clear they just fucking mailed it in, we do have some good ones here. William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio neither one of these guys are much good, but it should be a fun fight. The one I'm really looking forward to, Jim Miller. Alexander Hernandez. Jim Miller's been a guy that's been around for a long time. He's on a 3-fight winning streak, and because he's on a 3-fight winning streak, probably why they felt comfortable making this fight against Alexander Hernandez, a guy that is still, he's not ranked, but he's been a guy that's still around that top 25-ish area. Jim Miller's mostly been the guy that's fighting older legends or unranked guys without Wikipedia pages that the UFC doesn't want to have, like doesn't give a shit about promoting for a while. That's been his role. What do you think about the fact that he is fighting a guy now who is younger, top 25 talent? What are your thoughts on that fight? I think it's kind of interesting. We haven't seen Jim Miller in that situation in a long time.
I mean, it's interesting, man. Obviously, Alexander Hernandez. Do we know if the 145 experiment is over, Josh, with Alexander Hernandez? Is he going to come back to 155? Has he decided that?
We have no idea.
Because I do believe this was actually a shorter notice fight, right? I could be wrong. Regardless, though, fuck, dude. I mean, I don't think it's a good matchup. Like Jim Miller's obviously won his last few fights, beat some younger talent at that. Maybe not guys who we think are going to be world beaters or anything like that. But like you said, he gets a shot at a younger guy in Alexander Hernandez, who's dude, he's 30. I mean, there's time to get it together. It just doesn't. He's not able fully to put it together. Like there's something missing, And it really was after that Cowboy fight, Josh. It's just been that. It's been that downfall.
Mm-hmm.
And look, early on, you could blame it on some of the competition. Right, there were some tough fights in there. Drew Dober, obviously, ranked. Dago Moises, formerly ranked, not ranked right now. But and even Hinata Moicano now ranked. Looking at these now in hindsight, they're really. He's not losing to bad people. He's losing to good people. Even Billy Q, another good guy. Actually, now that I'm reading this all out loud, I think this makes sense. This is a step back in competition. He's fighting an older veteran, a guy who's well established, who's on a win streak. Yes, is he damn near 40? Yeah, but look, he's won his last 3 fights. Alexander Hernandez has not won his last 3 fights against guys near or close his age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, this is a solid fight. I actually like this one a lot. It's just kind of interesting because we haven't seen Jim Miller in this position in a long time, and like nobody talks about it, but we're all just like, oh yeah, look at Jim. Like we almost treat him like he's a fucking child. We're like, oh my god, look at Jim Miller go. Like he's almost 40. Like good for him, Like no, this dude's still a bad. I'm just saying. I've always thought like the discussion around Jim Miller's kind of weird. Like he's like we almost treat him like he's a fucking child. Like oh my god, look at him, he's still going. Oh my god, he keeps on winning fight. Like no, like we don't gotta talk about him like he's some fucking Make-A-Wish kid. Like Jim Miller's still a bad motherfucker. Who like I think if you give he might win this fight. You know what I mean? Like he's not only winning fights, he's winning fights in decisive fashion, and it took him winning 3 in a row against and that fight against Cerrone was short notice too. He came in on short notice. It was supposed to be well, that's the way it is. That's the way people. I mean, is that not how the way people talk about it, Angel? Have you not seen the way other media people talk about Jim Miller's current career? Like. It's true, like we kind of treat him like he's, just some, I don't know. And I understand it's supposed to come from like a good place, but we're all just like, oh my god, who would have expected Jim Miller to still be good in the year? It's almost like a backhanded like compliment, But nonetheless, I am happy for him to finally get a crack at somebody who, like I said, Alexander is not ranked. I don't think he's been ranked, I think, in like a year or two. But he's still a top 25, a top 30 talent who, like, he lost to Billy Q and he lost to Renato Moicano, but he was in those fights. Same thing with Thiago Moises, you know what I mean? So on and so forth. Still a very good guy. Interesting to see what happens here. Alex Hernandez must win. And Jim Miller, if he wins this one, like, you can make a case that Jim Miller should be ranked if he beats Alex Hernandez. I hate to say it, but like 4 wins in a row, like, that's the lightweight division. That's actually pretty good. So, anyways, man. Rest of the card outside of that one, that's one of my most excited fights on the card for. We got Lena Landsberg coming back, who doesn't really feel like it, but we haven't seen, like, Lena Landsberg has been active, but I swear to God, I have not seen any of her fights recently. According to Wiki, she fought Piana Gonzaga and Kara Rosa. I don't remember a single fucking thing about either one of those fights. However, she is fighting Mayra Bruno Silva, who I'm very excited for. 2 wins in a row. Prior to that, she lost to Amanda Ferro, but in her last 5 fights, only 1 loss. Interested to see what she does. And then ultimately, you got to give it up for OSP, Ovin St. Preux, coming back. 39 years old, coming off that win over Shogun Hua, taking on Felipe Lins, who, like, this dude's Tapology. If you look at Felipe Lins' Tapology page, Angel,
Like a fuck ton of canceled bouts, dude.
Crazy.
And it's all him, too, pulling out.
Yeah, exactly. It's all him. I didn't even realize, dude, this guy's 37. Like, he's gotta get fucking active because he's running out of time, man. But yeah, any fights I may have missed, any fights you want to go and talk about that I may have discussed there?
I mean, I like to bring up AJ Fletcher, man. He was a guy who came in hot on the Contender Series. Believed he was coming out of Louisiana, Lafayette. You already know the connection there. DP, Dustin, they're cool, they're boys, whatever, right?
Boys, yeah.
He had started his amateur career in 2019, had an amateur background. All his fights were basically in 2019 through 2021 when he became pro, so COVID years and pre-COVID and post-COVID. So there you go. Got a sick finish in the fucking Contender Series. A lot of hype there. Lafayette was loving it. Comes into the UFC, has fallen short both unanimous decisions. Before that, he had won every single fight via decision. So being struck by reality hard in the UFC, obviously, is kind of the competition got harder. We kind of see how things got, but he's not fighting bad though. It's just, I think he just needs to clean some things up, and he's fighting against I believe UFC newcomer. UFC newcomer. In what is this? Themba Grimbo. So should be interesting to see if AJ Fletcher can get one back on the boards against a UFC newcomer. They kind of trying to help him out a little bit, but not necessarily too much. Is obviously they're giving him an unknown in some capacity. I think the big fight on this card, Josh, that is kind of the main one for me is, and you didn't even bring it up, Josh. The man with the second best record in all of MMA is on this card.
Oh shit.
Kushin Ashbabov, a 145er, 28 years young, out of Tiger Muay Thai, trains at American Top Team as well. Has been out of the game since 2020. The UFC wanted to fight on the Contender Series.
Bad motherfucker. Yeah. I can't believe I forgot this guy. Damn.
UFC wanted him to fight on the Contender Series against Jair Anderson Berto, who actually ended up making to UFC, and has since then beat guys like Andre Fili and Lucas Alexander. So, who knows how history would have gone there. He was scheduled to make his debut on UFC ABC 3 on that Yair and Brian Ortega card. That did not come to fruition. He had to withdraw, reasons unknown, wasn't able to find him. Finally, 2023, he gets Jamal Emmers. We get to see him back in action. Let's see if he can go and see if he can improve to 24-0. I'm going to see how fast the UFC will push him. He's very young. He has a lot of time in this division. And like I said, the second best active record in MMA at this time. Can Jamal Emmers get it done? I'm almost selling it like if it's a fucking Coleman. It feels like it should be with what's on the line.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about this fight, dude. Fuck. Yeah, man. And you... fuck, I'm going to butcher his name. And I feel so bad. Kayuzin Azgabov. Azkukov?
We'll definitely have to hear this one on the broadcast.
He's Chechen, all right? So...
he's bad. Not like bad like a bad person, but he's a bad motherfucker.
Well, I mean, it's just, we don't know, but Anyways, but in terms of fighting ability, goddamn, this kid, we talked about him a lot, like in the green room. Funny enough, I don't think we've actually ever mentioned him on air. But if you look at this kid's record, 23-0, coming fucking Chechen, which is always a problem. Trains at a Tiger Muay Thai. If you look up his record, by the way, I mean, there's a little bit of can crushing in there. You know, he's fighting guys and he was 8-0, 9-0 who was making their debuts. But for his last like 10 fights, he's been beating some good dudes with good records. Like, it's not just doing can crushing. So I was surprised when they offered him the chance to fight in the Contender Series, mainly because I thought, like, fucking, you kidding me? Like, you can make this is the guy they're gonna make go through. But anyways, yeah, I'm very happy that he's making his debut, dude. Props to you, good breakdown there. I didn't even remember that couldn't even remember that he's fighting this card. My bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, we had to talk about it, man. It's one of those things that hasn't gotten really a lot of attention. I don't think I've heard anybody talking about it. Haven't seen any videos on it because it's been settled. Like I said, he's been trying to fight for a while now, and fuck, dude, finally we get to see him and see what he's capable of. I mean, like I said, I believe the second best active record in MMA. I think the only other two guys that are really up there right now. And there's some other guys that I've kind of kept my eye on. He's one of that I've known of for a while now. But yay. I mean, this is the second best record in MMA, and it's in the UFC now. The other, obviously, that we all know of is Bellator Yaroslav Amosov with a perfect 26-0.
Yeah, by the way, speaking of him, we got I don't even know if like most people know this because I forgot it. He's coming back. It's coming up. Amosov's fighting next week. I don't think most people are paying attention to the schedule because that's one of my most anticipated fights right now. Him and Storley coming back fucking next Saturday, I believe. Which, by the way, if you guys are like this weekend, not a big fight. Obviously, Blanchfield and Andrade should be a lot of fun, but it's not a huge fight. Angel, let me give you this lineup for next Saturday. I don't know if you're on top of it. We got Paul Fury, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. We got Floyd Mayweather, Aaron Chalmers. Hilarious comedy. But we got Bellator 291, Amosov versus Storley. We got UFC Vegas 70, which is, I believe, Ryan Spann versus Nikita Krylov. So, dude, the amount of combat going down that day, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing one too. So,
I mean, Tatiana Suarez return on that card. Andre Muniz, Brendan Allen on that card as well. The
I believe, actually, you know what I think it is? I think Adrian Broner is coming back on that day too.
Oh, shit.
He's going to be fighting, I can't remember the prospect's name. It's like Michael Williams, maybe? He's like 20-1. And he's like a total can crusher, but you know, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, I like me some Adrian Broner. I hate to say it, you know, he may not be the best guy, he may not be the brightest guy.
But hey, man, he got back in shape though. He got his shit together. Let's see how he does.
Exactly, he's the can man. You know, anybody can get it. So, interested to see him back, and we'll talk about that probably next week. But, anyways, man, time to go ahead and break into the news because during the broadcast of UFC 284, something that I have been hammering for a long time. I know a lot of other people have been as well. Lil Evil, Jens Pulver, the UFC's first lightweight champion. And for a lot of people, there are guys that are lost to history. And it's sad when that happens. Guys like Frank Shamrock, kind of lost to history. Jens Pulver is another guy that was lost to history. Wasn't talked about by the UFC for a long time. Partially because whenever he was the first lightweight champion, he beat BJ Penn, he beat Dennis Hallman, and straight up said, you know, I'm dipping out. I'm fucking heading somewhere else due to contract issues. Came back a couple years later, got knocked out twice, got released, and they just didn't talk about him. You know, it seems like he's never going to make the Hall of Fame. He asked multiple times. He's like, yeah, I would love to be inducted. Nothing. But over the last couple of years, he's become on better terms with the UFC. He runs their Twitch channel. He does a lot of live streaming. He's a big gamer. And they inducted him. He didn't even know they had his reaction live on air. And, dude, just the UFC very rarely gets heartwarming moments right, and they fucking did here, man. Jens Pulver, Lil Evil, former champion, going in. Give me your thoughts.
Well deserved, man. Obviously, got to give lots of love. It was very. I saw. I didn't watch it live, but I saw it on his Instagram because he posted it, and you could see it, man. You see how much it meant to him. It meant so much. I don't know if surprise is the right word here. That he felt that way, but I guess it was something that he had wanted so long. It made sense why he had such an outpour of emotion, and his son was there too with him the whole time. And I think that's one of the most genuine reactions that I've seen to any human being getting an achievement, Josh. Like, it was so pure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I saw Jens Pulver. He went on the MMA Hour and he talked about it. And it's one of those things like kind of brought a tear to my eye, man. Like he was talking about how like he always whenever he was he grew up. I didn't know this about Jens Pulver. I admittedly don't know much about the guy personally. I've watched a couple of his Twitch streams and stuff like that, but I didn't know much about him personally. He talked about how on the MMA Hour about how he grew up in a very abusive household. And like, you remember one day he told himself, I was like, whenever I have kids, I'm gonna be someone they can be proud of, because I wasn't proud of my dad. And for me, and I guess like I don't know if his son helps him with his Twitch channel or he's just home or whatever, but like he immediately came in on stream and he hugged his dad, and it was such an emotional moment. He's like, I always wanted him, like, I just always wanted him to be proud of me because I wasn't proud of my dad. I didn't want him to feel that pain that I felt, and I was like, fuck, man, like. Fuck, I'm so happy for Jens Pulver, man. I mean, if there's a guy, and if like Jens Pulver's past, I believe I'm gonna try if I can find the documentary right now, because I think he had a documentary made about it, because he retired, I believe, at one point in like the early to mid 2000s, and they ended up coming out of retirement, and it was just got the shit kicked out of him,
Yeah, he definitely did have a very rough end to his career, sadly.
It was Jens Pulver, Driven. It came out in 2010. It was about his training camp, personal life, and difficult childhood. And I watched that probably like a decade ago when it first came out.
Holy shit! You watched it way back when? Wow.
Like, not when it first came out, but around like 2013.
Yeah, no. That's what I was to say.
Because I believe he was in one around that time, and I'm pretty sure he got annihilated in one. It wasn't as bad as our boy.
I'm pretty sure that was a soccer kick had KO, right? Like,
no, you're thinking of our boy, the Bellator guy. I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah, no, but I'm pretty sure he had a bad. It was bad though. I think it was like knees on the ground or something like that.
Yeah, Jens Pulver got fucked up too.
No, but you know what Jens Pulver has? He has that infamous, in my opinion, the worst nut shot ever in MMA history. That fucking Muay Thai kick to the nuts.
Oh.
You know which clip I'm talking about if you've seen it.
Yeah,
I believe that has to be the worst nut shot in MMA history, Josh, that I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a worse one.
Jesus, yeah. I can't believe we can't remember the name of that guy. He was on the Sports Illustrated cover too.
I can't get it. We're not gonna get it.
He literally just fought Patricky Pitbull like 2 years ago, and it was a banger of a fight. If you guys have not seen it, it was Roger Huerta.
Roger, it was coming back to me as you were saying it too.
Yeah, he got knocked the fuck out in one with the soccer kick, and came back to Bellator in 2018. He had a couple of fights, lost them all, but the one with Patricky and Benson were both fun. So, anyways. Yeah, but more over on the point of Jens Pulver. You see like guys like this that are just kind of lost to history, and it always makes me really, really sad, because I think like you can be so great and you can have such like a great moment in the sun. And for example, like I put out a tweet, if you guys follow me, discussing my favorite old fighter who was he was involved in like a trilogy. He fought in WEC, and oh my God, I can't. Olaf Alfonso, that's his name. Excuse me. Lost it for a train of thought, but that's a guy like who was in the WEC, and he put on tons of fights, and I got a lot of guys in that era that were just like so entertaining, and nobody remembers them. It just kind of sucks to have those guys lost to history. If you guys want a fun hour or two, Olaf Alfonso fought John Polakowski, who trained with Chuck Liddell. They fought 3 times. All 3 fights were bangers. All happened to the WEC. It was like WEC 4, WEC 14, and WEC 24. Fun fight out. Polakowski, he literally only fought 4 times. 3 of those were against Olaf Alfonso.
Fuck.
And he ended up. So it's kind of funny. So his first 3 fights were against Olaf Alfonso, all just in a row. And he went to the Ultimate Fighter like 5 years after that fight, lost once, dipped, never fought again.
But there's guys like that, dude. Like even Miguel Torres. Dude, Miguel Torres was 36-1 at one point.
That's true, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, holy fuck. Like, whoever thinks about Miguel Torres?
I actually do often.
Josh just sits in his room very quietly.
I just always think about Miguel Torres. I mean, there was a guy in Bellator who I remember started off like 37-0, total can crusher. Like, the biggest can crusher. And some Mexican dude. Lost once or twice, and I don't think he ever fought again. And, yeah, so I mean, those guys do happen. They'll just take one loss. They're like, I'm out,
You know, someone who I miss a lot from like way back in the day is Eve Edwards. Dude.
Oh, dude, Eve was fucking entertaining as fuck back in the day.
Dude, I just miss him at the weigh-ins, dude, coming in with his snacks. Like that was just so. It was like his trademark thing that I just loved.
By the way, I found out this kid's name, Julio Cesar Neves Jr. This kid's only 28, by the way. He started off 30-0, 2 wins inside Bellator, got submitted by Jordan Parsons, RIP. And then he just, I guess he asked out of his contract or whatever, because he fought 4 more times in the regional promotion, never fought again.
Damn,
crazy. But
it's just
anyway.
too much. Damn, he's 28. He could make a return.
I know.
He fought in
You guys should
2021
look at his
last.
Tapology because some of those fights are just hilarious. I remember because it's like 30-0 versus like 0-2 or some shit. Like,
Dude, what about 21-0 versus 0-0?
Who is that one?
That was him. He fought a guy. He fought like multiple guys who had no
Oh
record.
my god! It's even worse than I remembered.
God, that is comedy.
Anyways, man.
He fought in 2021 though. He didn't fight that long ago. You should make a comeback.
Yeah, why not? Why not? You know. Anyways, man. Next up on the news, I said it earlier, but we can kind of go and talk about it more in depth now. Max Holloway, blessed, been out of action since last July when he lost to Volkanovski, and in fact, we haven't even heard much about him. You know, we were all wondering, where is Max Holloway? Well, Max Holloway is here. He is back, boys. Not only that, but he'll be making the trip down to Kansas City. Let's go, baby. UFC KC, April 15th. Max Holloway versus the almighty Arnold Allen, dude. Banger of a fight. I'm so happy they're getting 5 rounds. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Banger, man. I mean, it's very deserving. It's the right fight to make. I think I might have even said this at the time after Arnold beat oh man, who did he beat? It wasn't Dan
Hooker?
Was it Hooker? He had another fight after that, didn't he?
Oh, Cater.
Cater, that's who it was. Yeah, no, he needed this. He deserved it. He finally gets his he got his first name in I think he had Sadiq Yusuf a name in the division, right? But not the biggest name. Dan Hooker has some weight to it, but he was coming down from 45 and he's coming off losses. Calvin Cater coming off a somewhat close fight, controversial against Josh Emmett. Before that, had to beat Giga. Obviously, we know about the Max Holloway result. But now, Arnold Allen gets to one of the toughest tests, if not the toughest test of his career. After Calvin Cater, Max blessed Holloway. I mean, this is the ultimate test, right? For Arnold Allen. This will be it. This is his shot to get to that title or title shot opportunity. And he has one man standing in front of him, that's Max Holloway. I mean, it is the fight to make. And without getting into, obviously, picking fights, all of this, breaking it down a little bit, this will show, I think, it's interesting how there's these two sides to this fight right now. Because for Max Holloway, it'll show us how much is left at 45 and how much is left in Max Holloway, for one. And for Arnold Allen, I mean, it'll show us what his potential is. What can it be? We've seen it, but look, they don't come with some little bit of a complicator injury, right? But Arnold caused that, during the fight, But people are always going to have that in the back. People are going to have that in the back of the mind. Dan Hooker coming off losses, before that, the man Arnold Allen had not gotten a single finish in the UFC. He finally gets one against a guy who had been having a hard time. So, and Sadiq Yusuf was his other ranked win, which, like I said, Sadiq Yusuf good in his own right, but there's a little missing there. So that's the big thing going into this fight, that each guy has stuff on the line, stuff that means something going forward in their career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad you laid it out like that. Because Arnold Allen's a guy that we clearly see has so much talent, but Dan Hooker in the middle of a losing streak, Calvin Cater coming off a very controversial loss, and that fight ends in an injury. I don't know if we've seen the absolute best out of Arnold Allen. And I think this fight will show us everything he's got, and I'm very excited for it. Especially for Max Holloway too, man. I think because of the uncertainty right now at 145, this kind of gives Max Holloway a chance to I don't think anybody expected it, but kind of like redeem himself and to become back in the title picture quicker than expected, especially if they make that rematch with Makhachev Volkanovski. There's a decent chance Volkanovski wins. He just says, fuck it. He already told you out here, like, hey, man, if you want to defend that interim belt, he said on the MMA Hour, he's like, dude, like, fucking go for it. Like, I got other business to tend to. I don't know if I'll be back. So if Max Holloway wins this, Arnold Allen wins this, doesn't matter who wins. Title shot next, almost damn near guaranteed. I mean, especially if you look at the rest of that division. I mean, no real options outside of that. So I like the matchup a lot. I like the 5 rounds, and I'm very happy about it. So it's kind of my closing thoughts on there, man. But some news that kind of flew under the radar, and it always pisses me off. And I'm gonna do a little bit of a rant here, Angel.
Oh man, I'm so excited to hear it.
You know what's funny is like, okay, so
are you angry, Josh?
I don't understand the people that are in this space that work as media members and they work for fucking company. I'm not going to name any names because, I want to try and, advance my own self and I don't want to, insult people directly. But the reality is you have people in this space and you have media members and you have analysts and you have all this shit. And they talk so much about fighter pay. But when there's actually fucking changes that happen which will impact fighters, they say fucking nothing. They say fuck all. Nothing. There were two publications who published about the UFC's contracts changing. One was Bloody Elbow, one was BJPenn.com. That was it. Who posted about the Ali Act? Same fucking thing. It's always been us. So just saying out there, if you guys actually want to do some fucking journalism, you can. It's a real fucking thing. But anyways, UFC contracts changed. First reported by Bloody Elbow, later corroborated by us as well. And we reported on it. So anyway, so essentially, Francis Ngannou obviously was able to leave the UFC. He pretty much tried to take this big stand. So a lot's changed since that time. We don't know when these changed, but within the last couple of months, it's a pretty safe bet. Last like 3. This is the estimate I thought given him. Essentially, the UFC instituted a lot of changes, notably. There's like a couple of bullet points that we can go ahead and hit. Basically, one of the major changes is that if they have any issue with the UFC and they sign the contract, they are no longer allowed to take them to court directly. They'll have to go through arbitration. Now, that, if you guys aren't aware what that means, essentially, arbitration is the same thing as going to a court, but you're doing it privately. The results of whatever legal matter you have will not be publicized, will not be made known to the media, other fighters, which could be an issue when it comes to other fighters negotiating their contracts and so on and so forth. Furthermore, it's also done in-house. So I'm sure you can guess who the UFC will side with when it's the UFC who is deciding on if the UFC's done anything wrong. Granted, there are sometimes a third party that is brought in, but it's also typically hired by the company that's doing the arbitration in the first place. So that'd be the UFC. Yada, yada, yada. If you sign the contract, you're not allowed to join a class action lawsuit. Angel, this is big news because I'm sure we talked about on the show before. UFC's already being sued. They're being sued by 2 different. They currently have 2 different class action lawsuits going against them. If you sign the contract, you won't, even if the suit goes through, even if they're found the UFC's a monopoly and so on and so forth, you won't be getting any money from that. And also, basically, how like the UFC. They say they have to offer people so many fights per year or whatever. That's always kind of been bullshit. Essentially, the UFC prior to, I believe, 2018, if you turn down a fight, they're able to extend your contract for another however long it takes. They can extend it for as long as 6 months. And they had, prior to 2018, they were able to keep your contract going in perpetuity. If you kept on turning out fights or declined to fight or whatever the fuck happened, right? So that's no longer... That's back to being how it was before. So essentially, if you decline fights, if there's a reason why you can't fight, they're allowed to extend your contract forever as long as they fucking want to. And lastly, the biggest one is a sunset provision, which allowed that Francis Ngannou to leave. Angel, he signed 5 years ago, and that's why he was able to leave, right? So that clause won't kick in until after the fighter's first fight on the contract. And the biggest change is with that sunset provision, if you're under suspension, those days don't count. That doesn't sound like a big deal until you realize fighters are under athletic suspensions all the fucking time from the State Athletic Commission. You saw the suspensions wouldn't count. And also, the UFC, for example, our boy Jeff Molina is currently suspended. That's just one example. He's suspended by the UFC directly. because he broke their code of conduct. If you break their code of conduct, which they decide on a whim to use half the time, those days will not be counted towards your contract. So that's essentially the big changes. I know it's a lot of information, but I feel like I had to put it out there because we talk a lot about this shit, and I feel like it's an important subject. But I mean, I don't know, man. Anything you want to add? Have you heard any of this news?
No, I hadn't. I'm glad you shared that. I'm happy to know that now.
Yeah. Just interesting. Just interesting that. I mean, they immediately switched up. So as soon as Ngannou left, which, yeah.
And when did this all come out? Like, when did all this?
It was reported last Friday, and we're the only two. There's only two that picked up the story. So, yeah, just a little small changes that could prevent another Ngannou from happening, which was like the biggest story that we've had in fucking forever. But fine, let's not talk about the fucking problems. Yeah, man, just fucked up. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, how is this legal? How is this possible? Well, when it comes to stuff like contracts like this, I believe there's like a Supreme Court hearing back in like 2018, which gave significantly more power to businesses when it comes to stuff like this and arbitration and class action lawsuits. So they're allowed to do it, essentially. And until they go to court and somebody calls their bullshit out on it and takes them to court directly, it's not going to change. So that's how it's legal. Welcome to America. But anyways, Angel, we mentioned Francis Ngannou. And this is the last bit of news for the day. And I kind of put it in here as like kind of the last one, kind of be more uplifting news. So Deontay Wilder has been negotiating with Andy Ruiz for a while. Now it's not really a big story, but they got ordered to fight back 3 or 4 months ago. We've had zero movement on that front. And it seems like I've heard reports Deontay Wilder's camp is getting a little bit fucking frustrated. not only with Ruiz, but PBC, because apparently they're having scheduling issues because they don't have much money. They don't have much cap. So he said in an interview recently, hey, Francis Ngannou, you want to fight? I'll fight you in boxing, and I'll go over and fight you in MMA. Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it this year. Angel, any interest in this? I think this is way more feasible than Tyson Fury's plan of let's fight in a fucking 80-foot structure of like above a building, and we'll have a special guest referee and yada yada yada, all that bullshit. This is a way more realistic option, and I think yeah, I mean, give me your thoughts on it, man. Do you want to see it?
I'm DTF, Josh.
All right. Well, I mean,
I want it. I mean, what else can I tell you?
Yeah, fair enough, man. I definitely want to go ahead and see it. I think it's okay. Look, and whenever Ngannou said he was going to go ahead and go to boxing, the reality is that I was never particularly interested in a lot of the potential matchups. I was never interested in Fury. I think Joshua seemed more interesting, but even then,
But this one
is by far the most interesting because Deontay Wilder and Ngannou, they're both. I mean, I think Wilder doesn't get credit for his boxing ability. I think sometimes he goes balls out, but other times, he's actually pretty competent. This is going to be two swinging for the fences, and I love that shit. So,
I mean, Josh, it's the two most powerful men in combat sports.
Yeah. Exactly. The two hardest hitters
and
on the planet
boxing.
And all time.
And they get to cross paths potentially. Like, that's an amazing selling point.
It is. And not only that, but they would be fighting. And I think a lot of people have kind of lost their attraction in these MMA versus boxing matchups because it's always ending up with the fucking MMA guy going to boxing, and we're all trying to pretend ourselves like, oh yeah, man, he might really. Oh no, never mind, he lost. All right, well,
but stylistically, this one's interesting though.
This one's interesting not only because of their power, both men's power, but also the fact that hey, if Wilder is legitimately interested in coming over, fuck yeah, man, let's go. Like that's super interesting.
Make that fucking money, baby.
Yeah. But anyways, man, I mean, that's kind of all my thoughts on this one. Any closing thoughts on this?
No, I mean, we just needed that. Hopefully that news develops more and we can talk about that one more in depth once the stuff kind of starts coming out. Obviously, next week's going to be a very jam-packed week with all the combat. Obviously, Jake fighting is to be very fun for us to get to see him back. Obviously, I don't even know if it'd be even a better card, but maybe slightly better UFC card regardless, though, we've been spoiled this year with some of the big fights and high-profile names returning, so we can't really complain, can we?
Mhm.
Obviously, Tough is about to start getting filmed here very soon. So, I mean, yeah, man, there's a lot of content that's be coming out soon, and basketball's about to start heating up. Man, it's just about to happen. Super Bowl just ended, so. And we didn't say it on the show, Josh, at all. We haven't mentioned it yet. We just hit 800 subs on fucking YouTube.
800. Let's go, boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm glad you brought that up. I was gonna go ahead and end the show with that, man. So much love and so much support from a lot of you guys lately in terms of, even just looking at our analytics on YouTube and seeing how many people will watch a video and come back, and we're getting a lot more returning viewers and we're getting more subscribers and everything, and it's been a lot of fun. And I know that, Angel appreciated it. I know that I appreciated it too. Man, it's just it's crazy. And the growth that we've had over the last month or two, it has just been astounding. So thank you to everybody who supported. We were stuck at 700 subs for ever. So I do very much appreciate everybody who's subscribed and listened to the content recently. So thank you for that. And if you guys want to follow us on social media, I'm at Josh Evanoff on Twitter. He's at Angel Ortega _01 at Courtside Sound for all things related to the show. Once again, quick shout out of our sponsors, Rogue Energy and Elixir, code Soundoff for both of them for 10% off. And well, that's about all we got. Peace and butt grease. Mouse click.